Welcome back to Introduction to CPT Coding Part 2. I'm Mrs. J, along with my esteemed team, Mrs. Tracy, Ms. Rochelle. We are very happy that you've made it here. What did we learn? We've learned how to look up a CPT code, how to review CPT basic coding guidelines, and scenarios to test your knowledge. In part 2, we're just going to practice. So if you didn't see part 1, you may want to go see part 1 and learn about CPT guidelines, CPT symbols, and how to look up a code. But as a reminder, there are 3 steps to looking up a CPT code. Step 1, look up the main term in the index. Step 2, verify that code in the chapter. Step 3, confirm any applicable guidelines. All right, so this is where I step off and I hand it over to Mrs. Tracy. Go ahead, Mrs. Tracy, take it away.
Thank you so much, Mrs. J. What a wonderful discussion on Introduction to CPT Coding. Lots of great information. And you know what, everyone? At this point, I think you all are ready to look up some procedures yourself. What do you say? So I have a few exercises for you, and then Miss Rochelle will come in and she has a few more for you, okay? So we're going to get some good practice here using the steps that Mrs. J already outlined for you. I have placed them here on the screen as a reminder of our steps to follow when we're looking up the procedures in the index. And, we need to make sure we're verifying and then confirming, okay? So follow those 3 steps, and let's go ahead and get started. Patient had an incision and drainage of a kidney abscess. I'm going to give you all about a minute to solve this. If you feel like that's not enough and you need more time, you can always pause the lecture, okay, and take your time with this. All right, everyone, good luck. All right, does everybody have their code? All right, let's go ahead. Using the 3 steps, let's go ahead and solve this scenario. So step 1, we're going to look up the main term or the procedure in the index. So I want everyone to type and let me know what is our main term or the procedure. Did you say it is incision and drainage? If so, great job, everyone. So let's go ahead to the index. We're going to look up incision and drainage. And then what is the incision and drainage of? It's of kidney abscess, right? So we're going to go down to abscess. And under abscess, there is a list of body areas. So where is the abscess? It says it is a kidney abscess, right? So we're going to scroll down this list and we're going to go to kidney. Now, when we go down to kidney, it gives us one code, which is 50020. Although it's only giving us the one code, we can never code just directly from the index. We always have to go and verify this in the chapter. So let's go ahead and verify this code in the chapter. That's our step 2. So verifying this code in the chapter, if we look down at 50020, this is a drainage of perineal or renal abscess, okay, or perirenal or renal abscess, open, okay? So another term, this is where med term is really important when you're coding. Another word for renal is kidney, right? So when we are talking about renal, that is pertaining to the kidney. So this is a drainage of perirenal or renal abscess, open. So I don't see the next step we have to do is confirm this. If there's confirm this code. Now we have to check if there's any guidelines or other directives that apply. So there is no parenthetical guidelines directly under this code stating that we need to be directed to another code. So what I'm going to do is just kind of confirm it like this. I'm going to look and say, okay, we're in the urinary system. Kidney is definitely the urinary system. The body area is the kidney. This is an incision and drainage. So if we go down to that blue heading there, this is incision. And then finally going down to our code, drainage. So this is an incision and a drainage of a perirenal or renal abscess, open, okay? And that is our code. So yes, that one was pretty straightforward, but we always want to still verify and confirm. So our code is 50020. Did you all get that? Okay, great job, coders. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. All right, patient had a deep, soft tissue needle biopsy of the shoulder. Okay, using the steps, let's go ahead and solve this. I'm going to give you about a minute and your time begins now. Good luck, everyone. Do we have our answer? Okay, let's go ahead and look this one up together. Step one, we're going to look up the procedure in the index. So what are we looking up? What is our procedure, everyone? Did you say biopsy? If so, great job. So let's go ahead and look up biopsy in our index. And as you can see, biopsy, there's a lot of different locations that a biopsy can be performed. So where is our biopsy being performed in our scenario? It's on the shoulder. So it looks like we're going to have to go to our next page to kind of scroll more through the list. So let's go ahead and look on the next page, and we're going to scroll all the way to where it says shoulder. Now this time when we look this code up, there's two codes that it's referencing. So 23065 and 23066. So let's go ahead in our chapter. We're going to step 2 and we're going to verify. So 23065 and 23066 fall under this excision here. And if we read the parent language in 23065. This is the parent code. This is biopsy, soft tissue of shoulder area, superficial. And 23066 is biopsy, soft tissue of shoulder area, deep. So looking back at our scenario, this is a deep soft tissue biopsy of the shoulder. So it looks like the deep 23066 is going to match what is happening in our scenario more than 23065, okay? So far so good. I like that code. So are we going to stop here? Because that code matches, it looks good, right? Okay, we cannot stop here because now we have to confirm. So let's go to step 3 and let's confirm if guidelines or other directives apply. So what do you all think? So looking at 23066, there is a parenthetical guideline underneath this code that says for needle biopsy of soft tissue, use 20206. Uh-oh, okay, so I see in my scenario that it says needle biopsy. Our parenthetical guideline is directing us to use 20206 if this is for a needle biopsy. In this case, it is. So that means that 23066 cannot be our code, correct? So now we have to go to 20206. So let's go ahead and take a peek at 20206. And 20206 is biopsy, muscle, percutaneous needle. So as it told us in the parenthetical guideline, if there is a needle biopsy of the soft tissue, we have to be directed to code 20206. So this is going to be our code. However, we want to look at that parenthetical guideline that's underneath this code. And if imaging is performed, we're going to use this codes from the 70,000 series. We don't need to worry about that because there is no imaging guidance mentioned in our scenario, but we always have to take a peek at those parenthetical guidelines. As you can see, they are very important. All right, everyone, so what do you think of this one? Let us know, and I have one more for you. Patient had 2 hours of hydration via intravenous infusion. All right, following our steps outlined on the right, go ahead, coders, and look this up. Good luck. All right, do y'all have your answer? Let's go ahead and look this one up. All right, so first step is to look up the procedure in the index. So what is the main term? Did you say hydration? If so, great job. So we're going to look up hydration, and underneath hydration, we have the 3 choices here, and we're going to choose the first one under this list because this was intravenous hydration. So this is hydration via intravenous infusion. So if we look up hydration and then we go down to intravenous, it's directing us to code 96360 and 96361. I think I said that backwards. 96360, 96361. All right, you know what I meant. Okay, so let's go ahead to step 2 and verify the code in the chapter. So if we look up these codes in the chapter, it's under the heading of hydration. I like that. And if we look up 96360, this is the parent code of this family. So this is intravenous infusion, hydration, initial 31 minutes to 1 hour. And if you go down to 96361, this is for each additional hour. Okay, so these are both hydration codes, and it's basically kind of determined on time. All right, so I like both of these codes actually, because if you look at our scenario, how much time did we have? We had 2 hours. So we're going to need a little bit more than what 96360 is offering. So we would code 96360. However, we need to account for 2 hours, and 96360 is only accounting for up to 1 hour, from 31 minutes to 1 hour. Okay, so looking down, 96361 would cover the other hour that we need. So we're going to use both of these codes. Now, our third step is to confirm these codes and if guidelines or other directives apply. Well, I can already see under this code family that there are some parenthetical guidelines, so we are going to read all of these. They may apply, they may not, but we always have to read them. Okay, so let's go ahead and confirm. So if we look under 96360, there is a parenthetical guideline that says do not report 96360 if performed as a concurrent infusion service. Doesn't mention anything about that in our scenario, so we do not need to worry about that guideline. That one doesn't apply. It also says do not report intravenous infusion for hydration of 30 minutes or less. Well, we know it's more than 30 minutes here, so that doesn't apply as well. And going down to our parenthetical guidelines under 96361, it says to use 96361 in conjunction with 93360. Check, that one directly applies. It's just confirming we can use these two codes together. The second parenthetical guideline says to report 96361 for hydration infusion intervals of greater than 30 minutes beyond 1 hour increments. Okay, that one applies too. It's basically telling us anything that is greater than 30 minutes beyond 1 hour we would report. Okay, and the third parenthetical guideline down there says report 96361 to identify hydration if provided as a secondary or subsequent service after a different initial service. 96360, 96365, 96374, 96409, 96413 is administered through the same IV access. Okay, that one doesn't apply in this case, but again, it's very important to read everything. Okay. All right, so it looks like we're going to report both of those codes. However, let's not ignore this add-on code. What do we know about add-on codes? So we know that we can report both of these codes together, and naturally you would probably report code 96360 first. However, just want to let you know that you have to report it that way. There's no way that you can ever report an add-on code. It is a guideline, a general guideline. The add-on codes never are first listed. So the way that we would sequence this is very important. 96360 is going to go before 96361. Okay, so add-on codes can never be first listed. Just always remember that. When you take the CPC exam, you will definitely be tested on this guideline. It's a very general guideline, but a very important guideline. Okay, add-on codes can never be first listed. Yes, I'm going to say it again. And a little tidbit is, you can never append a modifier 51 to an add-on code as well. And that's something else you would get tested on. But just know that anytime an add-on code is is first listed, it is wrong, okay? So this is the correct way of sequencing it, 96360, 96361, and that is our answer. Just like that. Now you guys are coding rock stars. How do you feel? I want to say you guys did an amazing job, and we're not done yet because Miss Rochelle has a few more exercises for you. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Miss Rochelle. They're all yours.
Well, thank you, Miss Tracy. You are absolutely right. These coders are doing such an amazing job, and it shows that they are learning along. So, coders, I am so excited to do a few procedures together. I prepared 3 scenarios for you. So, follow the 3 steps again, and let's see how you'll do in this one. Let's begin. Here is the first one. Dr. Bailey performed a partial gastrectomy procedure with a formation of the intestinal pouch. I'll give you a little bit of a timer over here if you want a little bit of a challenge. I'll give you a minute and a half to look up the code, and your time begins right now. Good luck, coders. And we are back. Now, for some of you who are just learning for the first time, I know the speed is not going to be quite as there yet, so please don't worry, okay? It's okay. All you can do right now is just pause this presentation and then take as much time as you need until you have your code, and then come back to us. Go ahead and hit play again so then you can go ahead and see how the process is going to go, and we're going to go ahead and look up the code together, okay? So for the rest of you who are ready, let's go ahead and find the code for this scenario together. So for our scenario here, the procedure we're looking for is gastrectomy. So following our steps, we're going to go ahead and look up the main term, which would be the procedure in your alphabetic index. So I have here for you on your right a clipping of the whole page actually, because I kind of want to let you see where you can find that procedure in your alphabetical index. Now it may look a little tiny on your screen, so if you want to use your CPT manual itself, that would be actually better. But I just wanted to show you that you can find that procedure right here in your alphabetical index under G. Look for gastrectomy, which would be down here. And then there are actually quite different types of gastrectomy procedures listed under this. So you're going to have to rely on your documentation or keywords to see a particular type of gastrectomy that we're coding for. So in this case, it was indicated that this was a partial gastrectomy. So that narrows it a little bit down. So it will take us right here where you can see partial, and it gives you a few series of codes that we can look at. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to go ahead and verify the following codes in the color pages of your CPT manual. So if you want to follow along, go ahead and flip through your page in your surgical section. Look for 43631 to 43635. We're going to go ahead and verify the code. So we are now verifying the code in the chapter. So if you look at the excision codes down below, you can actually see different types of gastrectomy procedures here. So while we're at it, let's get a closer look at this. Look, we have one family for total gastrectomy and one family for partial gastrectomy. Now, we already did establish that we're coding for partial gastrectomy, so we're really not going to be paying a lot of attention to the family code up on top. However, we have to really be forensic when we're looking at the following codes in this family code for gastrectomy partial distal. The parent code is with gastroduodenostomy. Now that is going to be wrong because this gastroduodenostomy did not happen. It's not mentioned in our scenario, so we cannot use that parent code 43631. We're going to have to keep looking. So another code under this family here is an indented code 43632, which means that this is also a gastrectomy partial distal with gastrojejunostomy. Now this one again did not happen, so we're going to go ahead and move on. That's not going to be our procedure. So we have to look at 43633 down below, another code from this family. This will have a common shared language of gastrectomy, partial distal, with Rowan Y reconstruction. Now that sounds fancy, but again, coders, you already know this did not happen. This is not in our documentation. So 43633 is also not our code. Now, one last one from this family, we have code 43634. This is for gastrectomy, partial distal with formation of intestinal pouch. Now, doesn't that sound familiar? Indeed, because if you're paying close attention to our keywords in our scenario, they did mention that the gastrectomy procedure was with the formation of the intestinal pouch. Exactly what we're looking for. Now, do we stop here, coders? Did we find our code? Looks like we are getting there, but we have to make sure we follow through with our step 3. We need to confirm if guidelines or other directives apply. And finally, we're confirming our code selection. So I included a full clipping here of the page so we can see if there are any guidelines apply. And so far it's looking good. Nothing applies. We're all clear. So nothing in your category, subsection, and there's nothing in the code family itself. There's no parenthetical guideline involved. So guess what? Guess we found a code. So the answer for this scenario is going to be 43634. Now, if you got that right, then you are outstanding. Now, if you missed, but you were able to learn along the way, guess what, coders? That is priceless. That means that we're doing our job here, and just remember, the more practice you'll do, then the better you'll be and the stronger coder you'll be. So, what do you say? Let's do some more? Okay, let's do it. I prepared 2 more scenarios for you, so let's do it. Okay, are you ready for the next scenario? Here you go. Dr. Christina Yang performed a bilateral ligation of the femoral vein on a patient today. I'll give you a minute and a half, and your time begins right now. Good luck, coders. Now that time went by quickly again, but if you are not quite ready yet, again, you can always pause this presentation right now and come back and hit play once you're ready. Now for the rest of you, let's go ahead and look this code up together. All right, coders, at this point, you're quite familiar with the steps, so we're going to go straight to it. We have to look up the main term or the procedure in the index. And in our scenario, this was for ligation of the femoral vein. So we're going to look it up from ligation. That is the procedure. Now, which part of the body or what part of the body it is for the vein, particularly femoral vein. So now that we have that, it's giving us the code of 37650. We are going to follow through with our step 2. We are going to verify the code in the chapter. So let's go ahead, coders. You have to go ahead and flip your page to the 30,000 series, and let's go ahead and take a closer look at this code. So verifying that code in the chapter, you can find it here, 37650. The code description reads ligation of the femoral vein. And that is indeed what we're looking for. So this code is looking good to me. But before we establish that this is our right code, we have to always confirm if guidelines or other directives apply. So that's what we'll do for step 3. So following step 3, can you see any guideline or directives that are applicable to our code 37650? If you said yes, then you are absolutely in the right track because just underneath that code, you will find a parenthetical guideline that says for bilateral procedure, report 37650 with modifier 50. And hey, looking back at our scenario, it did say that Dr. Yang performed a bilateral ligation of the femoral vein, so that means that these parenthetical guideline directives apply. So, thank goodness that we followed through and we confirmed our code selection because with that information, now we know what would be the appropriate code for this scenario. So, are you ready to reveal, coders? We got everything we need, so let's see what's going to be the proper code. So after following our 3 steps to looking up a CPT code, now we know that the answer for this scenario is going to be code 37650 with modifier 50. Now, if you got it, great job. Fantastic. Now I have one last scenario that we can do together. So if you're ready, let's go ahead and do it, coders. Okay, so the scenario reads, Dr. Shepard performed destruction of the trigeminal nerve by neurolytic agent into the supraorbital branch. You got a minute and a half, coders, and your time begins right now. Good luck. Okay, so following the 3 steps in looking up the CPT code, we're going to look up the main term or the procedure in the index. And for this scenario, I already highlighted it right here. The procedure is distraction, where in the trigeminal nerve. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and look that up in your index where you can find distraction. Go down to nerve. And then look, it's very interesting because underneath nerve, it has a direction where it says see nerves distraction. Now, all you need to do, coders, is we're just going to follow that instruction. So we're going to go ahead and keep flipping on a few more pages until we find nerves. Okay, so we're going to look at nerves. So I have a clipping for you right here on the right. We are now at nerves. We're going to go down to distraction. And look, now we can find a few more keywords here in our scenario. So we have distraction by neurolytic agent, exactly what we're looking for. It is mentioned right here in our keywords. And we can even narrow it further down to the trigeminal nerve because that is also in our keywords. So we have here trigeminal nerve, and it's telling us to go ahead and look at the following codes: 64600, 64605, and 64610. So now that we have that information, we can go ahead and proceed to step 2. We are going to verify the code in the chapter. So go right ahead, coders. Flip through your pages in your manual if you're following along with your manual, and we're going to go ahead and look up these codes together. So we are now verifying the code in the chapter. So the code actually directed us to the following codes here under somatic nerve, and this is a family code, so we have to be very forensic. The parent code reads 64600, distraction by neurolytic agent trigeminal nerve, supraorbital, infraorbital, mental, or inferior alveolar branch. Now notice my highlighted keywords matches up my scenario here. So I like this 64600 so far. However, while we're here, might as well go ahead and check the rest of the codes in this code family just to see if we're not missing anything, right? Okay, so 64605, again, sharing that common code description of distraction by neurolytic agent, trigeminal nerve. Second and third division branches at the foramen ovale. So look, I kind of highlighted it or underlined it red because that one is not going to be our answer. And 64610 is again sharing the common code description, distraction by neurolytic agent, trigeminal nerve. This here is for second and third division branches. So actually both 64605 and 64610 is going to be not applicable because in our scenario, it did not mention anything about the second and third division branches, only the supraorbital branch. So the keywords match more so for the code 64600. So before we go ahead and confirm though and decide, we have to go ahead and follow through with our final step. We're going to confirm if there are guidelines or other directives apply. So now that we're here on the final step, we're basically confirming our code selection to see if there are guidelines or other directives apply. And if you look at your CPT manual, under distraction by neurolytic agent, that's what we're coding for. So we have to make sure that we read this. And this reads, code 64600 to 64681 include the injection of other therapeutic agents. Do not report diagnostic therapeutic injections separately. Also, it further reads, do not report a code label as distraction when using therapies that are not destructive of the target nerve. Another one also mentions about chemodenervation, but I think we got it all covered. We now know that when we are using the code 64600 to 64681, do not report diagnostic or therapeutic injections separately. So now we have to think. This guideline applies to our code. Now, how are we going to go ahead and determine our final code for this scenario? There's really no mention about diagnostic or therapeutic injections in our scenario, so I think we got it right. Do you have it, coders? All right, let's figure out our final code for scenario number 3. And the final answer for this scenario is going to be code 64600. Now, how'd you do, coders? Did you got it right? I have a feeling that you did great on this one. Now, I think it's the perfect time for me to actually invite you to go ahead and leave us a comment below. Let us know how you did with all of our scenario exercises. Did you got it all correct? Did you miss something? Or did you learn a few things from this presentation? We'd love to see it because I think it's time for us to go ahead and wrap up everything that we learned in this presentation. So this concludes our 2 parts instruction on CPT coding for beginners. In this presentation, we provided instruction on how to look up a CPT code. We also reviewed some basic CPT coding guidelines and reviewed scenarios to test your knowledge. And before we go, please allow us to take the time to give you a good round of applause for doing such an amazing job throughout this presentation. If you do like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more medical coding videos. Thank you on behalf of Mrs. J, Ms. Tracy. This has been Rochelle, and we'll see you on our next presentation.
Thank you for watching an AMCI exclusive presentation in partnership with AAPC. Until next time.